Welcome to First Responder Financial Freedom Podcast. We talk to first responders all over the nation who are investing and working on businesses outside of their first responder jobs. Our goal is to motivate and educate each other and help provide a better financial understanding for a better future. Now here are your hosts, Mike Webb, Tyler Thrush, and Aaron Foster.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the First Responder Financial Freedom Podcast. I am here with Mike, and our guest today is Alfredo Infante. Alfredo is out of the Miami area. We'll let him give you a little bit of his backstory as far as what department he works for, what he does, and then more specifically, what we're going to go over today is a product that he's created. So we're going to kind of see what that looks like as far as creating something from the idea all the way through product development, patent process, stuff like that. So with that, Alfredo, if you want to just introduce yourself, let us know a little bit about you, and then we can go from there.
Absolutely. How's it going, everybody? My name is Alfredo Infante, and I'm with Miami Dade Fire Rescue and also representing my company, Magna Chef. So it's basically a barbecue glove, and we'll get into that and how I started that, now in a little bit. So started my career in 2005. With Miami Dade Fire Rescue. Before that, what I had done up to that point was landscaping. So I was a arborist. I was working for my old man as a contractor as well, and a designer. So I even went to school for landscape architecture in University of Florida. So I had a little kind of background of architecture and design before I got onto the firefighter job. And so through the years, I think I was probably around 4 years into the fire service. As a firefighter, I never promoted, I never did anything else. But I started just being, I guess, very objective with different things and looking at things through a different lens. As you guys know, there's a lot of firefighters that's what we do, right? We look at things differently, and we see how we can better things and better situations and better products. Obviously, a lot of times when we're in emergencies, it calls for that, right? You got to be ingenious and come up with some way to get it done, right? So I guess that led me to my idea. Which is just a better way of cooking and a better way of using gloves. For instance, tried so many different cooking gloves, as everybody has heard, right? We're in public. It's like, what are you guys cooking today? We're known for our cooking, and I like to cook a lot.
Never say that.
Yeah, I never say that. Yeah.
Far's lunch.
Well,
what do we have for dinner?
I was at a really busy house, and I didn't have really, you know how that is. You don't really have too much time to cook. You just try to throw stuff on a pot or skillet and just get it done sometimes. But nevertheless, everybody's asking, "Hey, when's dinner going to be ready?" I don't know, man. We've been getting calls every time I've started, to prep dinner, and I've been washing my hands or taking off these latex gloves and doing this while I'm food prepping and then running to the truck. And I guess that's when I had the aha moment of, there's got to be a better way to do this. There has to be another product out there that I can use or that I can make that can be versatile, do a lot of things and still be quality and last. So that's when I created my easy on, easy off barbecue glove, which is called Magna Chef. So it's Magne Chef. And basically what it is, it's a silicone glove, and it's got a web design. You know what? I'll run and get in a little bit, but I'll just give you guys a little breakdown of what it is. So it's a silicone glove. It's got a web design. So it's got the functions of a regular glove, but with like comfort of a mitt. So, it's really easy to slide out. The big game changer on it, and what I patented on that was the magnets on the inner wrists. So basically, when let's say you're just food prepping and you're not even cooking yet, and you're just, putting rub on pork or whatever, and you're getting your hands dirty, you need to grab the rub or grab some salt, whatever. You just click right in, slide your hand out, and then with that clean hand, you can get whatever you need, and then just slide right back into the glove and go right back to work. And it's heat resistant. It's heat rated to 500 degrees, our silicone glove. We also got the neoprene Freedom glove, which is a 5-finger glove now, and that's heat rated to 932 degrees with the same easy on, easy off magnet to allow you to slip off and, pick up that phone call, get some rub, whatever you got to do. You can do it quick, and you don't have to be fighting with those gloves trying to take them off, as many people find to be a hassle.
So this product was created, I'll say out of necessity, but based out of you observed a need based on your everyday life, and then you kind of just then started that R&D process, right?
Correct. Yes. We
and you actually cared about cross-contamination. Usually we're just grabbing chicken, spices,
That's what I noticed.
Got
I don't have much time.
The exam gloves for prep, and you got the structural gloves as your oven mitts usually in our
correct.
It's like usually one of them's got a hole in it or something.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
so was this the first product you ever, I know you had a background in landscape design. Is this the first time you ever had a product or something that you were like, hey, I'm going to quote invent, I don't know what the proper term is.
Yeah. So basically I had thought of stuff and a lot of people have. I mean, I'm no different than most of us out there. We think of things and you think of a better way of doing it and whatever, and then you just go on about your life, and then you kind of see something similar or something that kind of brings you back to, damn, that's close to the idea I have. So I had some of those moments, and I said, man, I love food, I love cooking, I'm passionate about it. This is something that I can get into that, even though it may be tough, I can find the joy in it as I do it, and as I go through the trials and tribulations that early entrepreneurs are going to go through. And then I just went for it. I basically started with the patent attorney first.
So let's, before you roll into that, so I think it's easy to kind of get into that kind of stuff. And like we were just talking briefly, one of my buddies just is in the process of patenting a firefighting, product, and we'll definitely have him on. But I kind of a little bit saw kind of the iterations of that and him working towards that. I'm curious with this, before we get to the patents, like, how did you go from I got this idea to like, what did for lack of a better phrase, R&D look like? How did that go?
Yeah. So that's actually a great question. I had another buddy in the station that was pretty creative that I can bounce ideas off. And so it's funny, it didn't even start with magnets, right? It started with the fastening means that I had in that inner wrist was actually Velcro. Okay. And I ordered a bunch of different gloves from Amazon. And then I found this glove it's actually a snow glove. I had never seen it from Miami. We don't see snow. I don't see these gloves. So I think it was called the Ansel glove or something. And it was made out of, it's kind of like a non-collapsible glove, like orange. And when I got this glove, I noticed that I could stick something here, some kind of Velcro, and that was the idea, was Velcro at first. And I can slide my hand out, and I can still slide it back in. But I started noticing as I'm sliding in, the fingers were tougher to get in to the spaces. So I cut the I guess you would say the walls of the fingers on these two sides to join them, kind of have this little Spock technique, right? And then we use shoe goo over it. And if I show you the picture, you're going to be like, what in the hell is that? So I had that as my proof of concept, and it worked. And everybody at the station, of course, was cracking on me, like, what the hell is that, man? Look at Spock over here. What the hell are you doing?
I'm shocked.
Yeah, right? It's just
supportive.
Well, luckily, I don't mind people busting my balls. I'm going to bust your balls. We're going to go back and forth. So I found it funny. I didn't care. And luckily for me, I had another buddy that was helping me do it, right? And he saw what I saw, so that was good, bouncing ideas off each other. But I mean, I tried so many different gloves before that. That was probably the 9th or 10th that I found that okay, we got something here. Now we can take this to an examiner first before I go to the engineer, because I didn't want the engineer.
What's an examiner?
So not examiner, I'm sorry, my attorney first. So we'll get it in front of the patent examiner after everything went well, which was a scary moment in my life, because the first thing that any really good patent attorney will do is he's going to have a conversation with you on your idea. Then his team goes and researches that idea to see if there's anything out there that resembles that. And then you have another meeting, a follow-up to that, to say, hey, listen, I think it's a no-go because this and this is out there. And even though you don't see it on Google yet, it's already in the USPTO. The United States
So
patent.
how does that, first off, do you just like Google, or, I mean, back in the day, go to the yellow pages, look up patent attorney? Like, how long does that process typically take? And ballpark, what does that look like as far as cost or investment?
Yeah, so that I went through a couple different ones. Luckily for me, I had a friend that was already had his business going and going really well. It's called, I don't know if you guys may have heard of it, La Caja China. So it's a Cuban roast box, and they roast pigs in it, and it's delicious. They have the wets. They have you know what I'm talking about. They have the
I love those
How do you
things.
spell that?
yes, and they have
CAGA.
yes, La Caja. So it's LACAGJA and then China.com, and they have amazing roast boxes. And he's actually the one I spoke to that gave me his attorney that he trademarked with that also did patents. And which it's their name, and for anybody out there, because they work nationwide, it's Sancha Lima and Associates. They're really good. They got, I think, like a 75% approval rating of once the patent starts to actually land it. So he's excellent. I got 3 other patents with him, different barbecue tools that we're still going to be coming out with. I'm just doing R&D on as we speak. And so, yeah, we had the first meeting. But before I got in there, that in that office, I knew what the meeting was going to be about. And then when I went for the second meeting, I saw somebody coming out, a husband and wife coming out like super dejected, and I was like, oh shit, like, here we go, man. Watch, I spent, $700 for them to do this background check on anything close to what my idea was. And watch, I just get it, just ruled out right here before the patent even starts. So we sat down. He had found already stuff that was similar, but not identical. So, they found like this glove that just everything can magnetize to it, screws and all types of stuff. Of course, it never came into market. And then some other kind of like medical glove. And he said, well, there's an attachment here on the forearms, and you use these gloves in this machine that's using these chemicals, and you just slide your hands out. He was like, with that and that, I think the examiner could knock us out. So then I showed him, by that time I already had the magnets, and I showed him the magnets, because what happened with that Velcro was like when we cook with ground beef and stuff, it was getting all nasty and sticking to that. So that's when we came up with the magnet idea, which was pretty novel. And that's what you need, right? You need the 3 things is novelty, usefulness, and non-obvious, those 3 elements in getting your utility patent. And it was a grueling process. You get 3 strikes and you're out. We were down to our 3rd strike with the examiner, and then we finally got it, but I was freaking out. I was writing all types of reasons why our glove is different and our magnet is different, and
How long did that whole process take till you actually had
Yes.
a patent, not patent pending?
Yes. So, and to go back to answer your question on the money, it was a lot of money, because every time you get a strike, you got to pay another $1,000 to have it reviewed. So it took us it was actually pretty quick, because we expedited it, which in hindsight, I'm like, why didn't I do that? It was another $1,000 to expedite it. I was like, yeah, I want it now, and boom, 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 because I'm going to start the R&D. I'm going to start with an engineer, and we did, and so it was probably about 7 or 8 months, so fairly quick. But in that time, I probably aged 10 years because I was freaking out, man. It cost me already. I mean, like what, 6,000 to start, 5 or 6. So by the end,
So you're okay. So you're at 6,000. You guys got the patent pending, and then you mentioned that you were going to start with an engineer. So you have this prototype with the shoe goo, and then you progress to the magnets, and then
yes.
the engineer is going to take what your idea is and then create a product that's going to be something that's ready to go to market, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Something practical, something that can be done, obviously through some kind of mold that can be mass manufactured. But we went through like 5 different engineers. 2 or 3 said it couldn't be done, and then 1 said it could be done, but the way that I wanted it done was it might last too long, and you might make a good product, and you don't want that. You want something that every couple of years it can break down and people can buy. And I was like, I don't think you're my guy, man. Maybe that's how other people do it, maybe. But I'm about quality, and I'm about doing something that's gonna last long. And I finally found my guy that said, yes, we can do it. We can do it out of silicone. We can make it last. It's double the thickness of any silicone glove on the market.
Where do you search for those people? Fiverr, Upwork?
So you can, I've done. You got to watch out who you get on that. You can get some really good people, but then you can get some really shoddy people. But this one,
that's in general, but absolutely,
yeah,
especially on there.
Yes, exactly, because you're dealing with people in other countries and everything else. But I wanted to find a local guy, and he's 1 county up in Broward County, Davie, and it's Blue Ring Technologies. They were awesome. For anybody that has any ideas out there, his name is Jay Prentice, and he was the one that developed it. That we started. Now we didn't get it right on the first time, and that's now here you're talking about other costs. We had to do about 6 or 7.
A lot of people could say that about marriage.
Yeah.
It's one of them things, man.
Yes, absolutely, and especially where we come from in our line of work.
Right. That's why I was surprised you do a patent attorney. Usually it's the divorce attorney.
Yeah.
Yes. Crazy.
Nobody scored on those recommendations.
Yeah. Seriously, we need to get a sponsor for this show. So how, like you said, you didn't get it right the first try, and I know we're joking, but that's in everything, man. That's life in general, right? So I'm curious, whenever you take that product, do you have to make that person sign like a non-disclosure or something? Because like, I like to trust everybody, but let's face it, there's people out there that will take advantage of you. So do you, before you even discuss them making your prototype and stuff, is there any sort of protection to you to make sure like, hey, I'm working on the patent process, it's patent pending or whatever that verbiage looks like, but they sign something that basically says we're not going to rip your idea off?
Yes. Excellent question. Yes. So we did a non-disclosure. So out of those 5 engineers, 1 engineer, the second guy, took a real smart guy, maybe on the spectrum, but super smart guy.
I work with a couple of them.
Yeah, exactly. We have a few of those as well. And I took the non-disclosure agreement, and it's funny, it's me and my wife and I, because we both came in this process. He's a teacher. So, I mean, backtracking a little bit, we had enough money to buy a new house. And then I had the idea. I was like, hey, it's either this or that. Do you believe in it like I do? She did, thank goodness. And we went along with this. But when we went, so we were really protected, right? So we went to this guy and real knowledgeable, good background, and worked on a lot of big things. And he was like, this non-disclosure, and it's really not a big deal because I can go to somebody and you want me to sign it. And he made this huge spectacle and like talking about it for 30 minutes. And then we kind of got into it. He didn't even sign it. Then I go, you know what? It's already in the process of patenting. I'll tell him what it is. Let's see what he can. So I didn't even sign it with him, and I just told him about what it was. And he was one of the ones that said, well, I think it could be done, but I don't know. You got a lot of these issues and this and that. And I kind of had the feeling that this is going to be super costly with this guy because, I already have something here, something tangible that he can work off of. And I think he's just crapping on it because he's thinking of it as a totally different thing when I want something more specific. And that's when your gut feeling, usually is right. And we left him and landed with Jay, thank God, from Blue Ring, and it worked out, But yeah, look, it took us 6 times. One of the prototypes, you guys won't believe this, one of the prototypes cost us $4,000.
So that's $4,000 for each different iteration of the glove.
Well, that was the most expensive. Some were, $500-600. Some were $1,500. Nowadays, man, I would tell people, looking back, like if you can just get it as close as you can to really what you want, you can save a lot of money. Now people have these 3D printers, and you can do so much work with those things. And if I would have had the access back then to something like that, I probably would have done that. I could have saved myself a good chunk of change.
Yeah, that's the pimp hand model.
Yeah,
$4,000.
Dude,
so
it hurts.
So how did you? So you go through all this R&D, and you finally come out with the 5th or 6th iteration of it, and it's pretty close to the way you want. How did you then go about sourcing the manufacturing, or before you even go to sourcing it, how did you get to the point of saying like, hey, I think I can produce it for X, but I don't know, hey, it's going to cost me $4,000 to make each one. These are really cool, but I don't see too many people spending $4,000 on, no disrespect, oven mitts. You know what I mean? Like, how did you go from that step, which is like, all right, cool, I've got the patent work going on, I got the R&D done. Now it's like the next step is, how do I go about finding how to make this, how to make it at a scalable cost?
Right.
Did you go with like a drop ship model, or I presume you had to make them in like batches?
Yes.
What did that look like?
So that's going back to your gut feeling. That's when I was talking to Jay on one of the last meetings we had before we started, the drawings and everything into it. He said, we're going to need some molds. We're going to need more than likely that glove is going to have to be a compression mold, and the magnetic and the clips are going to have to be a compression mold and an injection mold. So the injection mold, what's nice about it, that can just run overnight. So you can have these clips just going and going and going. The compression mold, it requires labor. So it's these steel hands basically, and then this machine compresses the silicone, and it tightens it for about 1.5 minutes. Then it releases it. Then you need a cooling process of about 1 minute. And then you need somebody there to physically rip the gloves off. Boom, get the next one going. So we sourced it. We had to go to China for that, just because the labor is like less than a quarter of what it would have been here. Even to make the molds, it was a quarter of what it would have been here. So we did both molds in China, in the injection and the compression. We brought the injection here, so that way at least I can say it's part USA made, and we can have that running overnight, and that's no labor to us, and then I don't have to ship those plastics. They're already here. And then we assembled them here in the States. I bought a rivet machine in Connecticut, an old Chicago riveter, and that's how we put the magnets and the clips in the inner wrists. And then so all we depended on China was for the silicone glove in the compression mold, which was there, and then we would just assemble them when it came here with our USA plastics and with our rivets and our rivet machine and our USA labor, do it here. That was the only feasible thing. And, and of course I got guys from the station, oh, how can you do that in China and this and that? And I'm like, dude, bro, I'd be out of business if I did it. I have nothing. I have the burn rate has been so fast from engineering, from patenting, from now creating molds to manufacturing. When it's all said and done, it's around already 40 or 50. Because like you said, you got to make your first batch. When you make your first batch, the minimum order on these silicone gloves is 2,500. So do the math. I mean, that's about, they were charging almost $7 a glove. It's a lot of money. What helped us, we did a Kickstarter in 2016, and that helped get some.
What is Kickstarter for those not familiar?
Yeah. So that's a crowdfunding site. So basically, if you have your idea, and you're going to be developing it, whether it's it could be just drawings at the moment, and basically that's what we had, the drawings. We didn't have the physical molds yet, so you can basically donate to companies, right? Startups like myself, and with the promise that once these molds are made, they will get their product, but you got to give us the time to, with your money, make the molds, and your capital, make the molds, and then included in that capital is you getting your product when it's ready, which for us, once the product started, once the drawing started, and then the molds started over there, took around a little under a year. So you're getting a good deal on a product that basically you're not going to see for roughly a year. But you're helping a company develop these molds, which is, it's a brilliant idea. So they got Kickstarter now, they got Indiegogo's another one, and there's a few others out there. So if anybody's interested, just go look up crowdfunding on Google, and you'll find a bunch of different sites. And we did a 30-day campaign, and we raised $25,000. So that helped a hell of a lot.
That's awesome. And so instead of equity or debt, they're getting the actual product too, which is cool, right?
Correct, which is awesome. We're not giving any equity to anybody, and you're keeping all that and just developing your molds,
And just to simplify that, I think sometimes people get confused when you talk about, equity or debt. Basically, what he's saying is if you give equity, you're giving ownership in the business. So over time, that can be much, much more expensive than whatever the more expensive debt per se is. So a lot of times you'll hear people balk at, you're paying 10% interest to somebody. Yes, but I'm not giving them any equity in the deal. And I believe in the deal, or in this case, the product, enough to pay that higher than average rate, because I don't want to necessarily give away a slice of the pizza.
Correct. Right? Correct. Absolutely. So, you summed it up perfect.
So, well, that's good, because I totally botched early payoff or prepayment penalty on a loan the last episode. So sorry about that, guys. So, all right, man. Well, that's pretty neat. And, I've never manufactured anything like what you're talking about. And I definitely have an affinity, as I think most of us do, for something made in America. And you sit there and look at, you have to be realistic, right? Like the product you're selling, you are competing with something that, let's face it, price is definitely going to be a component of this equation. Whereas if it's, for instance, the American flag I bought, I made sure that flag is obviously made in America, which I feel like it should be a law. They have to be, but that's a whole nother conversation. True. There's certain products. Are you willing to basically forego the fact it's not made in America? I think if we're all honest, yes, there's just no way around it.
Right.
Whenever the minimum wage, what is minimum wage? I don't even know anymore, but if you sat there and bought every product and it was 100% sourced and made in the United States, we would frankly never be able to function economically the way we do.
Yeah.
Right or wrong. But so how did that go? Communicating and working with somebody in China to get these manufactured, and then what did that then look like for the distribution side of things? How do you just throw it up on a website? Do you hustle it in a vacant parking lot on Saturdays with the Nikes or what?
So luckily, that's a great question, because it's hard to trust people. Luckily for me, the two really main components of my glove is obviously the glove itself, right? The silicone, and the plastics that holds the magnet. So for me, all I had to source, because basically Jay from Blue Ring, he already had companies in China that were doing work for him and only him, and they weren't ripping them off. They weren't, sending, making a batch and sending it to other companies. It was just for his company. and the companies that came to him, like my company, right? He even would go under other emails to test these the Chinese companies that he had working for him. Hey, I need a batch of such and such. I saw you make it for Blue Ring, for Jay at Blue Ring. They're like, no, I'm sorry, we only work with him. So you will find trusted people in China. Not everybody's out there to rip you off. You understand? So for me, I had that. So he was basically like a quality control guy. So when I did have any issue, which I didn't have many with the gloves, I would just go to him. And then, so he was the middleman. And then he would go to China and say, hey, we need such and such gloves. We're messed up. We need those credited in the next run or whatever. So for me, luckily I had him. Sure, now you got to give up a little bit of money to that. So he made a little percentage on that. But to me, it was worth it. It was peace of mind. I had never dealt with China. Now, what I did source were the magnets. So I think a place that people can go that you can find reviews, and for everybody that you deal with in any country, whether it be China, India, and a lot of other places, I needed rare earth magnets, neodymium magnets specifically, and those were the ones we used on our gloves. And the people who have...
I've never heard of those.
Yeah, they're
ever.
super, super strong magnets. And so
what was the name of that?
Guys,
Neodymium?
pair of the Freedom barbecue gloves so you can see how strong these things are. And that way you can have them at the firehouse. But you're going to see
a warning label.
Yeah, they're super strong. And the only places that have those rare earth magnets there's only a few. So I think it's Australia, New Zealand, India, China. But China has the most. So they're going to give you the best price. So I went to Alibaba.com, Alibaba, ALIBABA.com. You make an account, and then you can basically source through there. And what's nice about it, you see all these companies have a certain star rating. Whether you'll see all the reviews. They're pretty, for the most part, they're pretty legit. I never had any company like do me wrong. It could happen, but they would be kicked off the platform. So it doesn't behoove them to be screwing with anybody, So that's what I saw. And I saw a company that was reputable, that had been in business for almost a decade. And that's who I used for the magnet sourcing. Like I said, thank God it was only that, because I can see how somebody could be skeptical of doing business with any country, right? That you're not there, that you can't physically see what they're doing. And you never know. Some companies may do that. You've heard of companies, we can make you the mold, but then they're selling it on the side to somebody else. So you never really know, but I'm glad Jay was out to help me out with that and be my quality control guy there.
That's the thing too. I have an uncle who manufactures products, and the issue always is if you're getting it produced in China, and they see that it's a hot selling item, they have all the immediate feedback. They don't need to necessarily produce it in that specific factory. They send it out to another factory, boom, it's gone. And then another friend that I have in high school, his job, he would literally go a couple times a year. He would grab products that are hot in the U.S. He would fly to China, have them replicated and made, and then come back, and then they would sell them. And I'm sure for you, it's like anything. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into a product, and you put all this money in there, and then it would be devastating if it got ripped off. So it's good that you were able to find somebody who had that integrity and didn't.
That was huge. That was huge, and so thank God it worked out. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I've heard countries doing that with like our aircraft and cars, anything that has intellectual property. So,
right. And it's funny because if it would happen, I asked my patent attorney, what if somebody does, right? We see somebody selling our gloves somewhere, and I was like, we'd go after him, right? He's like, nah. I was like, what? He's like, nah, we'd let him sell. I was like, what? Yeah, we'd let them sell, and then after they start doing well enough, and we get, all right, now we go after them, and we get, we can sell for however much almost they made. We get a huge chunk of that, right? So that's another smart way of going about it. That's a lawyer thing, and me, I'm just like, go after him, stop him. He's like, no, man, you got to make money. Then we'd sue, and we get a big percentage of that money, because that's your property. That is your property, paid for it. blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
That is yours, and they know they're doing you wrong. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah, absolutely.
So now you've got the product ready. It's already ready to sell. And you and I were talking before the show started a little bit. What did you have a set sales strategy as far as how you wanted to attack it? Like Mike has mentioned, did you want to do anything with Amazon drop shipping? Was it more grassroots? Kind of what was your initial thoughts? Has it changed? I'm sure it has.
Yeah. So initially, right, I mean, I had a bunch of different ideas, right? I'm thinking, and when you come up with something, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna be in a big box store soon, and this and that and the other. It's like, dude, you got to start somewhere. So I figured, all right, we got to start grassroots, drop ship, get on Amazon, get some reviews there, and start building it up. And sure enough, that's basically, we started doing small little ads on Facebook that helped out a lot, and basically, so it was mainly just the drop shipping and Amazon. We got to good reviews with 4.5-star rating on Amazon. And then we were drop shipping. I would say though, our main, we were making most of our money from Amazon for sure. Cause you got the eyeballs there. And in fact, we were on the ads, we were sending people to our website, but it seemed like we did better when we sent people to Amazon, just because people didn't have to enter their credit card number. They were Prime member. We went Prime, and just people like things easier, so we just then started drifting that way. And we would still get the orders, on our website organically, when people didn't have Amazon, but we found more success when we were leading them to our Amazon page.
Okay. And then I also saw too, I mean, if you love barbecue, you love barbecue. I mean, it's a very passionate set of people. There's always a joke that once a man turns 40, he either starts to love World War II history or barbecue. He's got to choose one of the two. So it's kind of funny, but I noticed that I went through all of your Instagram stuff and your videos, and I noticed that you started kind of not like the true influencer route, but you did hook up with some names in barbecue as far as I'm sure to get the product out there. Did you notice any results from that? Could you see like a spike in sales? Like, oh, hey, I did a post with so-and-so barbecue, and you could get immediate feedback, I assume.
Yeah, that's actually a great question, Tyler. So basically we started going to these barbecue events. We were like, man, because at first we sent them to some chefs, we sent the gloves, we didn't get much response. But when I sent them to a few pit masters and stuff that I follow on Instagram, they're like, man, this is really clever. This is good stuff. And remember, a lot of these guys, they're competition barbecue guys. So every second counts. They don't want to dilly-dally with gloves that are sticking in their hands. So we started seeing that, man, these guys really like our stuff. So we started going to these events, Steak Cook-Off Association, the SCA. We started going to like Austin Rodeo Barbecue Cook-Off. We went to San Antonio, the one we were talking about earlier, American Royal, the World Series of Barbecue in Kansas City. That was huge. And we hooked up with an awesome, early on in an SCA event, I met a awesome pitmaster, Barton Barbecue from Driftwood, Texas. And man, we hit it off. We're good friends now. And we'll visit him in Texas. They've come here, and we'll go wherever he's at, and we'll be slanging our gloves out there. And we noticed actually through him, we met Dogfather Barbecue, which got a cool little podcast as well. And he put our gloves on one of his shows, man. It wasn't one of his shows. It was a YouTube show actually. And man, he did a brisket intro to briskets. You can find it on YouTube. It'll be one of the first 5 or 6. And this was, I think, like 2 years ago. We did a thing with him, man, and he's got over 1 million views. I mean, we come out around 12 minutes, but I noticed a huge uptick in sales right after that one. So I was like, man.
Do you follow Nick Hammond? He's been on the show before. His handle, I was trying to look it up.
Yeah.
It's Fireman 1231 underscore.
Hammond.
Yeah. So he's got 130,000 followers.
Wow.
But he works down like Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, I think.
And what's his
But he does fireman 1231 underscore. And he's got a really good like cooking centric site account.
Yeah.
He's always like, come on with it, hot dog and hunt. He's the, I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he was a hoot, man. But just you talking about what you're talking about and what he was doing, I feel like it would be definitely something to chat about. Like say, hey man, I've talked to these guys, they recommended you.
Yeah.
So
that'd be great. I'll definitely reach out. But yeah, so we started seeing the uptick on YouTube, and we're like, man, you know what? We should go after more influencers. And so what we started doing, we started just sending gloves out to these guys, and we give them like a little affiliate link. And so any sale that went through them, they would get, a little small percentage, a commission, basically.
Sure.
Nice.
Which is great because you're not spending money on advertising, and they're getting you in front of their whole audience.
Sure.
So
People like me who watch barbecue 8 hours a day.
yeah, exactly. So I need that thing.
Yeah.
Yes, big time.
Tyler the Meat Man. But yeah, man, it's cool. We've talked about this before, and just kind of what you talked about with influencers and social media. I think a lot of times, and you see it around the firehouse, and I think we're probably all guilty of it to some extent. You sit there and become the consumer of social media versus the creator. And oftentimes it can, I think, I'm speaking for myself, like you start to kind of, I don't want to say get sucked into it, but like you start consuming it more versus like flipping the script and saying, you know what, I'm going to use this to basically amplify what I'm trying to do versus trying to detract from what I'm trying to do. Yeah. And you sit there and think, a lot of times you sit there and say, is social media good? If you just throw that out there, a lot of people will be like, no, it's horrible. Or better yet, is social media good for the fire service? You throw that question out, a lot of times you're going to get people that freak out.
Yeah.
Right? It's horrible. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing. And I would say at times you're 100% correct. But in this case, you're able to sit there and take your product and amplify its reach and message to folks that are kind of targeted for what you're trying to do. So it becomes a tool instead of a vice. And I think that's pretty just kind of neat, like how that product or platform in our lifetime has come to be. And we're probably all about the same age.
Yeah.
We've kind of grown up with it, maybe in our later formative years.
Yeah.
But you think about like our kids and stuff, that this is the world they're growing up in. And you sit there and sometimes wonder, like, should I be more restrictive with it? Should they just not be on it? Go outside, play sticks, poke each other in the eyes, whatever. Versus like if they're not,
that's what we did. I mean, you came.
Yeah, if they're not on this stuff, if they're not on any of this stuff and using it responsibly, they could be behind the 8 ball as they hit that like marketable age where they're looking for a job and a career. If you don't know how to use a keyboard or whatever by that time, like, right now it's kind of like you can still kind of get by fumbling around. Right. But as they progress the next 10, 15, 20 years, like if they don't know how to navigate that digital world, I mean, I think you're not doing them any favors. So that's I
think there's got to be a balance, no doubt.
I told you we'd go on tangents.
Yeah, no, I love it though. That's how I am all the time. My wife has to tell me, get back to what we were talking about. Like, all right.
My wife insists I have ADD.
Yeah, she does. You know what? We were never medicated, man. We're just, let us go outside and play and run it out of us, man.
Yeah, exactly. So what does Magna Chef look like now? You're coming up on almost 10 years worth of basically committing a lot of time, effort, energy to this. What does it look like today?
So today, thankfully every year we've improved incrementally sales and everything else. But with that being said, we've had a lot of new expenses, right? So, we have 2 other products we'd like to bring into market that are already, we got the patents on them. One's a 3-in-1 like barbecue tool, and another one's like a cutting board, something I did to the cutting board basically. And like anything, and you need capital, right? So a lot of it's gone into drawings already, and now we're trying to get something tangible to start seeing how we're gonna manufacture it, right? But being through the hell I went through with my gloves, I do not want to do it alone. So we're actually looking to possibly partner up with somebody. We've had talks with different people from different companies, and kind of just waiting to see what's our best fit. We're not desperate. Like I said, every year has gotten a little better, but it's just easier when it's not just you. I know, I'm sure you guys know people that have partnered up and it's gone south. It hasn't worked out. That's why I think we're taking our time and really trying to vet everybody we talk to or that emails us to make sure we make the right decision. But honestly, like you guys know, man, it's not easy to be a firefighter with our schedules, to be a husband, to be a father, to be a businessman. It makes it that much tougher. So I want some more time with my kids. I want more time with my wife. So I don't want to be the one that has to do everything. And I need a little bit of help. So right now that's kind of what we're doing, and the path we want to go to.
So I'm sure you've looked at it, but have you investigated like one of these companies you've rattled off? I'm not familiar. Like, I have a Weber grill. I don't have 9,000 smokers and whatever you said, a La Hacienda pig smoker and
got
all this crazy shit.
China.
God, yeah.
That's what I said, man.
I got one of those.
Yeah, but like, have you looked at one of those types of companies, basically, for what?
Like licensing?
White labeling your product. Like, hey, I own the pet and I do this, I do that, but they sell it under the
yes,
their brand name.
So I've reached out. I don't want to name like the companies, but I have done feelers out there and put feelers and gotten feelers from companies, and it's basically, man, it's a grueling process. It's not just, hey, I like your product, let's go. They want certain things and we want certain things, right? So it's a lot of back and forth. Like right now we're talking from another to another company from another country to do something with them, and it's taken a lot of back and forth contracts. Hey, I don't like this in the contract, change it. Well, no, I can't change it, but I can change this. Well, then no deal. All right, then they'll come back to you in a few weeks or months and, hey, what about this? And that's how it's been with a lot of these other companies as well. So it's just, and you got to have somebody look it over. If you don't know, like, thankfully I have lawyer friends. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, no, you know what? I don't like this terminology. See if this can change. And so it's been a little frustrating. It's a little grueling, but it's part of the process, right? You kind of want to make sure, all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, right? Before you 100% go with somebody. Cause like you said, we've been at it, since 2016 with the idea. And we want to make sure all the years that my wife and I put in that, we maximize it and really squeeze the juice out of all of it.
Nice. And I think there's it's you start something yourself, you want to bootstrap it, you want to do all these things. And like you said, you realize any business takes a ton of time. And then like we already have the schedule that we have and kids with boards and activities on school, and then our wives, our spouses. And then so what when you were talking, I was thinking is like, and I'm guilty of this too. For all that you have not created your product yet. So it would behoove you to maybe change what it looks like and get somebody else in charge of all of these things to where you get some of your time back, and then maybe it does increase income. Maybe you sell enough where you're making just as much or more with a lot less time invested into your company. And for me, I notice when things are cooking and you're making good money, and I feel like I'm at my best when I take time away from everything. When I get unplugged from everything, that's where my creativity comes from. That's where my new ideas come from. Like I recently, I can't run still, but I'm hobbling around my neighborhood at 4:35 in the morning every morning, and there's nobody up, there's nothing out there, and I'm just reconnecting, and I'm not looking at my phone. I'm just looking around. Okay, this is for my paycheck.
Yeah, man. 4:30 in the morning, man. You're stealing souls.
Why, dude? When you don't got a lot to do every day, you can get up and take a nap midday.
Yes.
So, and I know Mike's done it too, right? Like Mike's business has changed, and you find out, okay, I love business, and I love doing it for you. It's your products, right?
Right.
But I now know what it looks like, and then I'm sure with the new products, you've taken all this knowledge, and the patent process was probably easier the second time. And then now, once you have all these negotiations going on, and then let's say you ink a deal for that specific product. Then when you bring these other two to market, maybe that time frame shorter. It's like, hey, this worked really well. We just added another product. You guys want to put that under the umbrella. So I think it's cool to see it evolving. And it's the business should work for us and what we want to do, not the other way around.
That's a great point.
Which is easier said than done, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's like one of those.
Of course, because they're like,
it's one of those flywheels. At the beginning, it does not do that.
Right.
And then the goal is to get there. You know?
Correct. And you have these companies thinking, here's this guy that, probably put his life savings in this product, and he's gonna go with what I tell him. And it's like, no, dude, we're comfortable. I love my job as a firefighter. I don't care to retire anytime soon. I mean, at some point, yes, I want to get to that next chapter in life, and if I can retire in whatever 5, 7, 8 years, whatever, great. If it can happen sooner, great. But I'm not in a rush. I love my job, and I guess when companies and people aren't used to seeing that we're not desperate, that we like what we do, and like I tell them, it just, in a way, it kind of gives us more leverage, with some of these, bigger guys, right, in the game, because we do have this job, and it does give us that time to work on something on the side, whether it be your coaching for your kid and doing stuff there, or building your business. We have that time, and we have a great job that allows us that freedom, right? And really, it's not too many people that have that, man. So we're super lucky in that sense, man. Thank goodness.
Yeah, totally agree. So as we is there anything we haven't touched on that you wanted to go over? I definitely want to talk about, like, if somebody's interested in learning more about this, the Magna Chef products. It sounds like you're going to soon have a complete line. Where would they go? How does that look like? How should they get in touch with you?
So they can go to magnachef.com. So that's MAG, G as in golf, NE, N as in Nancy, E echo, and then chef.com. And that's our website. If you want to reach out to me personally, you can reach out to me at alfredo@magnachef.com. That's my email. If anybody has any questions, and I'd like to give a little discount coupon code for our gloves right now. So right now we're waiting for the silicone to come back in stock. Silicone got super expensive, so we got our Freedom gloves available right now with the neoprene gloves, the 5-finger one. And right now the coupon code for that is Freedom Lives on our website, and you can find them there. You get it a little cheaper than you will on Amazon. So, but if you go to Amazon, you can go under Magna Chef, you'll find it, or you can type in Freedom Barbecue Gloves, and it'll also come out. I would love the opportunity when we get rolling here and get some other products to be able to come back on your show, man, and promote. I really appreciate what you guys do. It's been nice.
Yeah, and absolutely. And just for those of you listening to maybe in the future, this episode should air probably around November of 2023. So if you're listening to this in the future and that coupon code doesn't work, make sure you just check out his website and, support it. So, Alfredo, absolutely, man. I'd love to see you kind of like post some of the stuff in the Facebook group and just kind of share your product, because it definitely seems like it was built out of what you just described as need, especially within the firehouse. So I'd love to kind of see the guys supporting other first responder businesses. And I feel like a lot of times it's just because we don't even know they exist sometimes. So, I certainly appreciate you coming on, man. And I'm going to have to check these things out because, frankly, like I said, my oven mitts or prep gloves, or examples.
Well, send me your
structuring
address.
it. You know?
I'll get a couple pairs sent to you guys. So send me your email addresses. I mean your
Okay.
addresses, and I'll send them out for you guys.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate that. And anything else?
Been great, man. Thanks you so much for having me. God bless everybody out there, and happy holidays. And
All right.
happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas. Better. I don't like happy.
Very good.
Yeah. Thank
You
you.
can say that on this show. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. Please do us a favor. Share the show. Send this one out. We know everybody in the firehouse loves to cook food. And I looked at the product. Can't wait to try it out. Super excited. So thanks again for hopping on the show. And we will see you guys on the next one.